These opening words are from a UU minister called Stephanie Noble, and is called In Celebration of the Winter Solstice, which is coming right up. Do not be afraid of the darkness. Dark is the rich, fertile earth that cradles the seed, nourishing growth. Dark is the soft night that cradles us to rest. Only in darkness can stars shine across the vastness of space. Only in darkness is the moon's dance so clear. There is mystery woven in the dark, quiet hours. There is magic in the darkness. Do not be afraid. We are born of this magic. It fills our dreams that root, unravel, and reweave themselves into the shelter of the dark night. Because dark has its own hue, its own resonance, its own breath. It fills our soul, not with despair, but with promise. Dark is the gestation of our deep knowing self. Dark is the cave where we rest and renew our soul. We are born of the darkness, and each night we return to the deep, moist womb of our beginnings. Amen. Be still and know that I am truth. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I hate. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and be still. Our reading today is from Lewis Caroll. I wonder if the snow loves the trees and fields, that it kisses them so gently. And then it covers them up, snug, with a white quilt. And perhaps it says, "Go to sleep, darlings, till the summer comes again." I wonder if the snow loves the trees and fields, that it kisses them so gently. And then it covers them up snug, with a white quilt. And perhaps it says, "Go to sleep, darlings, till summer comes again." When the trees rest, growing no leaves, gathering no light, what are we doing? When winter invites us into contemplation, setting a table with silence and starlight, let's ask ourselves, when the trees rest, growing no leaves, gathering no light, what are we doing? Are we attending to the miracle that is winter? Now, I have no business preaching today because I was catching a red-eye flight just 2 nights ago. Seriously sleep deprived. But I had to say yes because I love this topic so much. Wonder in winter. You don't need to be a young child to pick up that the magic is hanging thick in the air all around us in these last nights before the winter solstice on December 21st. Do you know Rainer Maria Rilke? Wonderful German poet. Here's some words from him. "You darkness that I come from, I love you more than all the fires that fence in the world. For the fire makes a circle of light for everyone, and then no one outside learns of you. But the darkness pulls in everything, shapes and fires, animals and myself. How easily it gathers them, powers and peoples. And is it possible that a great energy is moving near me? I have faith in nights. I used to live in Hubbard Park. I lived in the caretaker house with Lyndon over there. We lived with the caretaker and his lovely sweetheart. It was a magical place to live. Now, I'm sure most of you know Hubbard Park very well. It's your park. Now, if you're watching online internet, I've never heard of this place. In the middle of Montpelier, there's a wee gem just up behind the courthouse is this forest with all these trails in it. It's a magical place. Now, if you're going up towards the tower, but you don't drive up that fire road with the barrier, just before it there's a little muddy trail through a valley that there's no snowmobile trails through there, and people don't walk that one. And if you go up that trail, there's rocks on the right. And my favorite place to go in the winter is under those rocks, because there's frozen moss and 2-foot-long icicles. If you snap them off and sit down and chew, you can kind of taste the rocks. If you don't crack your teeth. Here, in my mind, that I'm describing this place that I go when I've got all my snow gear on, it is cold. And I wonder, how on earth does life survive this? This is a place that I go to pray for people who are in great danger. The ancestors feel closer. Actually, everything invisible feels closer here. And perhaps it's because the sound is muffled. There's no rustling of leaves or traffic in the distance. The silence gets very loud. You know the way that the fluffy snow does that? Oh, I just love it. And as a result, I think my chit-chatty, very chipper mind is a bit quieter. My thoughts listen more. The day-to-day doesn't seem quite so important. Sometimes I create a little circle in the snow with little bits of moss and things, and I'll light Hanukkah candles, little Hanukkah beeswax candles for the people that I am praying for. Other times I just sit there. I sit there until it gets too cold or it's getting dark. I find winter, despite the harshness, to be the most holy time of the year. It's creative and expansive, and I'm able to rest, ponder, and concentrate beyond the day-to-day. Can some of you relate to my little holy place up in Hubbard Park? Yeah, you do the same, I thought so. The holiness of winter right there, finding a way to be among it. And ever since I was a wee kid, I've loved this time of solstice and Christmas, and that was cloaked in darkness, the lights on the Christmas tree. Coming home from school in Scotland, we had to wear these reflector things on our jacket because it was much further north, and it was gloaming, it was dark when we came out. And you'd wear these little things, you'd bundle up, and we had gloves or mittens on a string through your jacket. They were always like this. Yeah. I got distracted by my childhood there, excuse me. So much of this time here was cloaked in darkness, but it felt very different than all the celebrations we'd just done in November. We had Guy Fawkes Day there, and you'd be outside and there'd be fireworks and hot thing called stovies, which is basically potatoes and gravy, and you'd be outside and there'd be fireworks. But around Christmas and solstice, it was much more magical. There was something about the darkness. It was incredibly powerful. This time that did split our pipes open last year on that cold, cold day. It can split rocks apart. How on earth do the wild turkeys and the coyotes and the wee chickadees, how on earth do they continue their ordinary lives? Remember, I grew up in Scotland. I didn't grow up in New England. I'm going to get to my first New England winter later. But I'm going to, before I go any further, I want to bring in a creation story from Judaism. Tikkun Olam, the repair of the world. Now, nobody's ever come that's Jewish to teach you about Tikkun Olam as a congregation. It's a wonderful story that's infused with social justice that came out of around 500-600 years ago when Jewish culture was under the Spanish Inquisition and this creation myth surfaced. But it has a bit to say about holy darkness. I once heard Dr. Rachel Naomi Raymond in an On Being episode tell the story, and I wrote it down word for word. It was so good. She said, "In the beginning there was only holy darkness, the Ein Sof." It's a Hebrew word, Ein Sof, the source of life. And then in the course of history, at a moment in time, this world of 1,000 things emerged from the heart of this holy darkness as a great ray of light. And then perhaps because this is a Jewish story, there was an accident, and the vessels containing the light of the world, the wholeness of the world, broke. And the wholeness of the world, the light of the world, was scattered into 1,000 fragments of light. And they fell into all the events and people, and they remain deeply hidden there to this very day. Now, according to my grandfather, remember she's saying this, not me, according to my grandfather, the whole human race is a response to this accident, and that we're here because we are born with the capacity to find the hidden light in all the events and people, to lift it up, to make it visible once again, and thereby to restore the innate wholeness of the world. She continues, it's a very important story for our times, and the task is called Tikkun Olam in Hebrew, and it means restoration of the world. And this, of course, is a collective task. It involves all the people who have ever been born, all people presently alive, and everybody yet to be born. We are all healers of the world that touches us. That's where our power is. Now, it was only the very start that was relevant, but I couldn't not tell you the whole story that she shared. In the beginning is the holy darkness, the Ein Sof. The source of life. What is this holy darkness, this Ein Sof? I love that there was a word for it, because a lot of my concept growing up of darkness was about vacuums, and it was a frightening place. It wasn't a loving, life-giving burrow or womb. I think I'm fascinated by the Ein Sof and this story because I think the cells in our bodies, in my body anyway, long to go home. There's a longing in us that I feel kindled and cuddled in winter, out surrounded by the fluffy snow, sitting in front of the hearth fire. My body knows something about this uncreated, loving darkness, the Ein Sof. And I have a hunch that winter is as close as we can get into this world to that uncreated place from where we came and to which we shall return. Now, this all started, this idea of mine about the holy darkness, because in 2009 I went to Maine to learn to be a boat building minister. That's another story. But I did. I went to apprentice with the only boat building minister I'd ever met, called Bobby Ives. And I'm from Scotland. In Scotland, winter is about sideways rain. It stays about freezing. It goes up above during the day with a lot of wind and just a little bit below at night time. I'd never had a New England winter, and everybody told me it was going to be terrible, and people were knitting me mittens, but were double mittens, and it wasn't just one pair of mittens, it was two, and people giving me clothes and asking me if I was prepared and beginning to scare me. I was like, what is this going to be like? Meanwhile, we're like cutting off cedar branches and placing them around the basement of the house, and people have slid off the road and totally trashed their car, and there's snow plows, and it was quite frightening because of what people were saying about it. It was also a difficult time in my life. I was there to rebuild, I called it my Arctic winter. And I was having a bit of a faith crisis in that in my year of grief and in the previous years, I really believed that there was a companioning presence deep in the heart of me. When I lived in an abbey, and we used to say that God's goodness is planted more deeply than all that is wrong. And I really believed that there was this inner compass that was urging me on and telling me to start over, to keep going, to rebuild my life. But I'm at a place now that I'm beginning to really doubt that. I'm seeing a lot of poverty and cruelty in the world, and I'm wondering, maybe there's no purpose to it. Maybe all this is just very random. And I remember sitting there at my little window. I was in a wee place secluded in the woods. And it started to snow. We'd been sent home early because the snowstorm was coming. Here was the snowstorm. I find my way home, I bundle up, I'm all alone. And it's the most gentle, wonderful thing. I'm not driving anywhere. I'm just sitting, watching the world get cloaked in snow. And there's a little squirrel that used to be just outside the window. It had a little nest in the hollow of a tree. And I've watched this squirrel many times, a dozen times, but this day, all of a sudden, I had a stark aha moment. Martin Luther King said, "Only when it's dark enough can you see the stars." I knew that. But here I was looking at only when it's cold enough does Mother Nature change water, the source of life, into this protective blanket. Programmed into the seasons and the fabric of life, which is water, is this protective layer where Mother Nature makes sure that that wee squirrel was going to be okay. Now, if you're used to it, it probably doesn't seem like an aha, but I'm Scottish, and I was like, oh my God, it's going to get harsher and harsher. And then all of a sudden, life is protected by Mother Nature itself. I was astonished by this, and I've never really recovered. I still take delight in this. I wonder if the snow loves the trees and feels that it kisses them so gently, and then covers them up snug, with a white quilt, perhaps saying, "Go to sleep, darlings, till the summer comes again." In the midst of all that is wrong, something is working to nurture and protect life. I'm going to sing. I was going to save this till last, but I want to sing it now. I'm not quite ready to leave the snow scene. We need to linger for a little moment longer. You'll know this is Stopping by Wood, Robert Frost poem, but it was set to music by a guy in Maine called Judy Caswell. Whose woods these are, think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake on the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. But the only other sound's the sweep of easy wind on downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Jung says that we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light. We become enlightened by making the darkness conscious. Solstice isn't about light triumphing over darkness. That's really bad theology. It's the thinking that fuels religion to be patriarchal and racist and colonizing. There's so much more that we don't know. Father Richard Rohr says the second half of life is about unlearning your religion, unlearning it. There's so much more that we have to learn. And we learn it by unlearning. And we need to expand beyond binary. You guys are my people, you know what I'm talking about. Language will evolve to make space for everyone. Einstein said that the answers to our problems are not found at the same level of thinking that created them in the first place. The answers to our problems are found at a deeper or more expansive way of thinking, where the new solutions and the new ways can find us. And I am sure Mother Nature is working within us to help us. So this year, I encourage us, first of all, to really let our white winter diversify and do a better job of honouring the holy darkness in our religion, but also to really, as individuals, soak into listening. Here's what Wendell Berry says. I love this. Don't you love Wendell Berry? To go into the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. So I invite you to do what I did. Go up to Hubble Park all bundled up and find a little alcove under a rock out of the wind and sit. You don't have to chew on the icicle, that's my thing. If you're not so mobile or you can't cope with the cold, maybe sit with the quiet. My favourite time is after everybody in the household, Lyndon and the dogs have gone to bed. I'll sit by the fire and just have the firelight and listen to the day and the soul and my soul. I'm not filling it up with thoughts. I'm a nighttime person, let's say. Or, if you're somebody that wants a more active practice, there's a wonderful thing that Steiner taught. It's called the 12 Holy Nights. And it starts on Christmas Eve. And for the next 12 nights, you tap into what he called the energy of the angels circling the globe. That it's a holy time. And the practice is that you reflect on last January, and you plan for this coming January. That's what you do at sundown on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, you go to February. You reflect on your life last February and plan for this February. And you go through all the 12 holy nights, really deeply taking stock and listening into your own life. Let's take these ideas and affirm them in song. So I'd like you all to imagine, it's quite short, so imagine you're in your favourite grove of trees when I sing this. Great folly when the silence falls, like feathers drifting from black branches. The frozen earth lies dreaming of birth under blankets so deep that whisper the secrets of snow. There is no time, there is no time, there is no time, there is no time. I leave the world of worried thought behind and dream. I raise my arms in the forest, join the simple praise of trees. How blessed we are to know this. Surrender and rest, dark winter's caress, the silent gift of peace. I leave the world of worried thought behind me and find the one who watches there inside me and brings this gift of peace.